Things have hit a new low for Donald Trump. And I'm not just talking about the losses in court, his historically low approval rating, or the shocking and disgusting scandals of corruption and criminality. No, I am talking about those who are very publicly turning on Donald Trump, and they're members of his own party, and they're doing it on the places Donald Trump cares about the most. And that is exactly what we saw out of Senator Rand Paul, of all people, who's really been speaking out against Donald Trump, not just for the stupidity of his tariffs, but calling out his criminality on Fox, to the shock of Jesse Waters, who looked like he actually had his mind changed there. We're going to get into it all, but before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way and really does mean a lot to me. Now, before we get into Rand Paul's takedown of Donald Trump for a whole host of things, I want to get some context on where it all started from Senator Brian Schatz right here.
From Hawaii.
Madam President, I cannot believe I have to say this, but a president should not take a $400 million gift from a foreign country. It doesn't matter which president, what party, it doesn't matter which foreign country, it doesn't matter if there is or is not a legal justification. No president should take a $400 million gift from a foreign country. I shouldn't have to explain why, but it is a high principle, literally enshrined in the Constitution, because people who we have representing us should know, not think, but know, that their representatives are focused on them and this country only, that our loyalties are not divided, that our minds are not wandering elsewhere. The emoluments clause in the Constitution. It's a fancy phrase, but a simple idea. No foreign gifts. If foreign government offers you anything, but especially something close to $500 million worth, the answer is no thank you. End of story. Very simple. End of story. I cannot take that. First of all, I cannot take that because I can't have divided loyalties. I'm going into the region. I can't take a $400 million gift before I begin negotiations with you. But it's also explicitly prohibited by the United States Constitution. And the gift in question is that the country of Qatar is going to literally provide a luxury aircraft, not just any luxury aircraft to the President of the United States, but Air Force One. And why does this matter? Air Force One is not just a random luxury airplane. It is a symbol of and a projection of American power.
This is the biggest corruption scandal probably in presidential history, and I want to make some very clear points in the distorted way that the media is covering this, saying that it is a gift given to the State Department, that we're saving money with this plan, is a flat-out lie. This is a gift that will eventually go to Donald Trump and his presidential library after he hopefully leaves the presidency. But it is a big Boeing plane. It's this huge palace in the sky, but that doesn't mean it's ready to be Air Force One on day one. It has to be refitted with the proper technology. So it's actually coming at the cost of us, the taxpayer, to then give as a gift to Donald Trump. So I don't want to hear that. And obviously we know this is illegal, this is corrupt, this is insane, and that is exactly what Rand Paul was calling out on Fox of all places. And you can watch Jesse Waters go silent as he not only calls out the stupidity of Donald Trump's tariffs, but the corruption of this action right here.
Jesse, I'm a free market guy. I think international trade creates great wealth, and there's all the facts and history of the last 100 years to prove it. But I'm also a friend of Donald Trump's. I'm a supporter of Donald Trump's. When he has successes with trade, I've said I will compliment him. If he succeeds in lowering tariffs and lessening the obstacles to trade, I'll be right there. I think it's unknown with China. We started out at 145%, then we went to 80%, now we're at 30%. But that's 30% more than we have on currently. So this will be a 30% rise in any goods who are coming from China, and somebody will pay that, and it will be the consumer. If the consumer's happy to pay more when they go to Walmart or more when they go to Target in order to get fairness or to teach China a lesson, then so be it. But the proof is in the pudding. We'll see what happens over the next 6 months to a year.
So you think our defense industry should rely on the Chinese? You think we should rely on Chinese steel? You trust China?
No, I think there are exceptions to trade and exceptions to free international trade. One of them would be defense industries. We obviously aren't going to buy our intercontinental ballistic missiles from them. We're not going to have enriched uranium coming from China. So our defense industry is completely independent and needs to be. And there are even some things that aren't necessary for defense that I would say we ought to make here. The flag, for goodness sakes.
Or pharmaceuticals.
So
you don't want pharmaceuticals coming from China.
No, well, actually, I don't. But here's the thing: there's a real question. This is a serious question you ask conservatives. How do you want to bring a pharmaceutical industry to our country? Do you want to do it by reducing taxes or raising taxes? The president thinks if you raise taxes on imports, which Americans will pay, that it will encourage local industry. Another way of doing it is China makes like 4 different antibiotics. They're generic. There's not much profit in them. What we should do is lower the taxes to 0 for 10 years for anybody who will compete with them in our country.
So should we be putting out our gimmies, Senator?
Well, it's a little bit different than a gimme putt. And the Constitution in Article 2 talks about the president can't take emoluments or gifts from foreign leaders. And so there is a provision in the Constitution that says you can't do this. And so the question is, can you do it if it's only for official purposes? If it came to someone in Congress, they can vote and the Ethics Committee can look at it. With his, there will have to be some kind of adjudication. This has never been done, and it's not like a ride on the plane. We're talking about the entire $400 million plane. I think it's not worth the appearance of impropriety. Whether it's improper or not, I don't think it's worth it. The other problem with Qatar is, I've spent time trying not to sell weapons to Qatar because they have human rights violations of their people. Many of their people are prevented from participating in the government, and some of the minority religious folks in Qatar are treated poorly. And so I really haven't been a big fan, and I wonder if our ability to judge their human rights record would be clouded by the fact of this large gift. So I wouldn't take it. That's just me. I don't think it's a good idea.
So if Qatar does give it to him, and he says, hey, Rand, you want to hop on the jet down to Palm Beach? You'll say no?
Yeah. I've always wanted to ride on the Emiratis jet, where you have a shower and a bathtub and all that stuff.
Me too.
And a bar and a dance floor. But I've never been able to fork over the 20 grand, I think, each way. So I probably won't be riding on it. But no.
Rand Paul on Fox calling out Donald Trump's idiocy and criminality. These are words that I never thought I'd say, and these are words I suspect Jesse Waters didn't think he would be hearing tonight. It's the reason he was just left silent, kind of looking around and maybe having his mind changed, realizing the criminality, finally hearing a little bit of truth from someone other than Jessica Tarlov on Fox, and he was just stunned. And I kind of am as well, but we shouldn't be. We should be stunned that more people aren't speaking out, even though we know, of course, everyone in MAGA, every MAGA elected official is completely spineless. But Rand Paul has really been standing up to Donald Trump. Not going to say that I'm a fan just yet, but I certainly am supportive of this action. But MAGA is, in some ways, some of the elected officials having their mind changed by the public pressure campaign that has been so loud, not just at their town halls, but out in the streets. And of course, one of the people leading those campaigns is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who was talking about the impact of fighting back against MAGA's fight against Medicaid, and a clip I want to take a look at right here.
Other states, like Kentucky, they actually get a higher federal match, where 70% of their around 70% of their Medicaid disbursements are paid by the federal government, and 30% are paid by the state. And so what that means is that for so many state budgets, a huge amount of the money that comes in for the state budget in general comes in through Medicaid financing. And so if you touch Medicaid, you are also blowing a massive hole in a lot of state budgets, which are going to affect schools, which are going to affect lots of other things to make up the difference. And so I have some numbers here that I want to tell you about because I have pulled up some of the Medicaid. So for example, in Pennsylvania, 40% of the Pennsylvania state budget is comprised of the state and federal match for Medicaid. 40%. In Nevada, 32% of the entire Nevada state budget is tied to Medicaid. In Colorado, Gabe Evans's district, 36% of the entire Colorado state budget is composed of the Medicaid state and federal match. This is one of the reasons why they are going after Medicaid. Because if you go after Medicaid, you start an entire domino effect on state budgets. And so what they're trying to do is gut a lot of the federal matching and the federal finance, and then they're going to gut state budgets down the board. And, you know, this isn't just blue states. North Carolina, 31% of that state budget is Medicaid. This is going to affect red states, it's going to affect blue states, it's going to affect everybody. And they are tricking people into thinking that they can support this whole waste, fraud, and abuse narrative, but the numbers do not add up. In fact, I've been sitting through all these committee hearings. The highest number that the Republican Party has advanced forward in terms of what can be attributed to quote unquote waste, fraud, and abuse. And mind you, not a single investigation has been put in front of the Energy and Commerce Committee to back these numbers up. But the highest number they have is $50 billion. Even if you believe everything that they say with no evidence, if they've identified $50 billion in waste, fraud, and abuse, why are they cutting $880 billion, nearly $1 trillion? The math is not mathing. And the reason for it is because they have been assigned to find $880 billion because they are going to give $880 billion to billionaires. 2 billionaires in tax cuts. And so, again, I want you all, I'm giving you all this information, not to frustrate it, not to paralyze you, but to say that is why you should go to the link in my bio, look up, see if your representative is on that committee, and make a call and tell them, do not vote for this reconciliation bill. Do not vote for this markup bill. And if you're a member, if you are represented by a Republican who's not on the committee, it'll still kick you a call script in order to give a general call to them, because that vote will be coming to the floor eventually, and everyone's going to have to vote for it, or vote on it, rather. So I wanted to speak on that to you all, because in the next 72 hours, we have an opportunity. The Trump administration is already starting to crack on this. They are already starting to give way on this because MAGA's on Medicaid.
Our voices matter. We do have agency. We can fight back. And I am so glad that AOC is empowering it to do just that. We're certainly going to try our best to follow her lead on this show. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video. And if you stuck around to the end, you can drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.